Okay, mindful nerd moment for Harry Potter. So there's a lot of content there. I I found myself drawn toward a particular scene though.
Okay.
I got drawn toward the scene where Harry Potter comes across Dumbledore doing the memory extraction spell,
Oh,
where he takes the wand
he's
and he puts
pulling.
it against his temple. Yeah, and there's this like wisp of smoke, and then he puts it into the what's it called, a pensieve or whatever,
Mhm.
uh, and and you can literally watch your memory play out. And that struck me as, so I mean obviously you could use it as a way to be like, I don't have to think about this anymore, but using it instead to immerse yourself and be able to take in the full experience as if you're observing yourself, which is mindfulness. So yeah, figured we'd play around with the memory extraction spell, play around with the pensieve. So let's say you're well, which character would you want to be? You don't have to be Harry Potter if you don't want to be.
Oh gosh. My go-to character was always Remus Lupin.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I always love me some Remus. Yeah.
So let's take Remus Lupin. What memory do you think you would like to replay?
Anytime before I became a werewolf. So probably
Mm.
just in school hanging with the other Marauders, just having fun.
Okay. All right. So we are gonna do Remus Lupin pre pre becoming a werewolf, not having to worry about that moon. So I want you to sit straight but comfortably. You can close your eyes or just soften your gaze, not looking at anything in particular. And first, I want you to pay attention to your breath, what it's like to breathe in and out, and not worrying about how you're breathing, not trying to breathe in any certain type of way, just using that in and out of your breath as a way to focus in on this mindful nerd moment. And when you're ready, I want you to imagine that you're Remus and you're wanting to just take a moment to step back, remember what it was like before you were a werewolf. But it's hard. It's hard to really be able to focus in on those moments, with so much going on. Things get cloudy. So you're going to take some time to do a memory extraction spell. So you walk over to the corner of wherever you are, and there's a pensieve. You have your wand in your hand. And I want you to touch that wand to your temple, thinking of that memory, a memory when you're with the other Marauders in school before all the werewolf stuff started happening. And as you're thinking hard on that memory, you pull the wand away. You see that wisp of smoke and you move it into the pensieve. And you notice how the pensieve, how the image moves around, and you're pulled into this memory. And I want you to fully take in the experience of this memory, taking advantage of all of the vividness that comes with using the memory extraction spell. I want you to notice the sights, what you see, what your friends look like. I want you to notice the sounds. Maybe someone's laughing, maybe someone's making a joke. I want you to notice the smells. What does it smell like to be back there with the Marauders? Are there any tastes that might be coming to you? Maybe the lunch you had that day at school. And then what do you feel? What does it feel like to be in your school clothes again? What does the air feel? How does your body feel different? A young body, pre werewolf. Also noticing just how it feels in that moment. What did it feel like back then before you had this weight on your shoulders? And just take in this moment and notice as you take in the moment, you might find yourself trying to pull away from the memory. You might notice some sadness that this is a memory, it's not your current day to day. And if you notice that, acknowledge it. Acknowledge any sadness, acknowledge any wanting, acknowledge any type of reaction you might have. The loss, the grief of the friends that you had. Acknowledge it and allow yourself to still take in this memory, because this memory you still have, and you were able to have these moments together, and they were precious. And when you're ready, take one last deep breath to really take in this memory of yourself and the Marauders. And then you come back away from the memory extraction spell. You step away from the Pensieve. And you walk away back into the rest of your day. All right. And when you're ready, I want you to just move around in your seat a little bit, stretch, do whatever you need to do to help yourself shift back out of being Remus and back into being Keaton. How was it?
It was good. One of the things that made me think about was like there's so many different moments I feel like in Harry Potter where they actually, it's almost like practicing mindfulness. The specific one I'm thinking of with Remus, of course, is when he's teaching Harry to use the Patronus charm, and it's like,
yes,
you
that's
have
another
to
really good one.
you have to think of like you have to think of a happy memory in order to even make this spell work. And it was funny. It's funny because it's almost like with the pensive thing, it's like, hey, I'm just taking these memories and just pulling them so I can watch it in real time again. And it's always really interesting when with mindfulness, instead of you actively doing something, you're just thinking back on a time that's happier or more peaceful to calm you down. And so it's very interesting how there's almost like different flavors and different kinds, so many different kinds of of mindfulness, because this could be one of those that I feel like would help in a moment of heavy grief, even where it's like, okay, I'm hurting, this is upsetting, but I'm gonna think of a happier time. I'm gonna think of the good things, the things that stayed with me, which is it's very it's very interesting, especially when you start talking about like the whole concept of horcruxes and pieces of your soul, all these different places. It made me honestly think about something that Trevor Noah said about horcruxes, and how the people that he said that the people that we come into contact with and the people that are our friends, those are almost like our real life horcruxes, because they each have like pieces of our souls. And so
I like that.
it's really good. It's a really good
It's a nice way of dividing up your soul.
yes, it is, but it's also one of those things like when you lose someone, that's why it hurts that much more, right? Because you're literally losing a piece of you. And but with this mindfulness exercise, it just really made me think about like dealing with loss, because that's something that's so prevalent throughout life, but also in the Harry Potter books. It's constantly dealing with loss and how to cope with it and how to handle it. And honestly, there are plenty of times that they do practice mindfulness in those books.
Absolutely. And I think that everything that you said, I 100% agree with. And one of the tricky things that can happen with this sort of thing, and that's why I was glad you were talking about, you mentioned Remus and then you mentioned the Marauders, because it fit naturally with this, is I purposefully tried to lead through something where many people might experience, hey, I'm focusing on a happy thing or a
Right.
positive thing to me. Therefore, if I'm doing it right, I quote unquote should only feel happy, positive things. That's not life.
Right.
And so exactly like you talked about, there's so much loss in other things, and being able to focus in and hone in on these enjoyable moments is important to balance things out. And also, we have to be willing to take what comes with a memory or with an experience or whatever's happening, because if we were to say I don't want to feel the loss of that memory gone or those people gone, then you were talking about the horcruxes, those parts of their souls, there's parts of your souls and how they connected. You're then going to have to completely separate yourself from all of that wonderfulness so you don't feel the other things that, yes, are terrible and awful and hard. And
Right.
so that's why it can be tricky, but it's so important to find those ways to take it all in.
Yeah, and I think I like the way you worded that because it really does kind of show like the the dichotomy of life, how there's ups and there's
Yeah.
downs, and when you remember it, you remember all of it, but you don't have to focus on the worst parts.